Hello everyone, in this video we are going to see a lesson from chemistry for class 11 and the lesson name is quantum mechanical model of atom. First let's see it. Initially when scientists were discovering atom, Dalton was the first person to give a model for an atom, and in 1803 he suggested that atom is an indivisible unit of element, and he gave the postulates based on that. And next, later on, J.J. Thomson discovered electron, and based on his discovery he said that atom is no longer indivisible, and he gave a new model, and the model we'll call that as a plum pudding model or watermelon model. So what he said is, so the positive charge are spread out, and the negative charge particle, that is the electrons, are embedded on the positive sign like a plum pudding. Okay. And in a watermelon, the seeds are considered as an electrons, and the red part of the watermelon was considered as a positive sign. And next one, the next scientist, the Rutherford, who made an experiment. So that experiment is a Rutherford scattering experiment. So based on this experiment observation, he gave another model for an atom. So what was this experiment is, he made he made an alpha particles to bombard on a gold foil, thin layer of gold foil, and while doing this experiment he observed certain things. He observed three main categories. So in this I'll just play the video. You can see the experiment. So he was bombarding the gold foil, that is the yellow one here, with the alpha particles. So while he was bombarding it, he observed three things. So what are they are? So first one is, most of the alpha particles pass through the foil. So straight away, so here it's passed through the foil, and some of them are deflected through some angle. So here in this green sheet, so the green sheet is your photographic plate. Here we have various spots. So first one, the first spot here, this spot. So this spot, it shows that most of the alpha particles passes through the foil, and these spots and these spots shows that some are deflected through some small angles. So these spots represents that some of them are deflected through a small angles. And next I found out very few alpha particles are deflected back by 180 degrees. That is the exactly opposite to their direction of travel. So based on these three observations, he gave a model for an atom, and he found out that inside an atom there is a positive sign. And this was the model proposed by Rutherford. And he found out a positively charged particle is present in the center of an atom, and which constitutes nearly all the masses of an atom. And there is a limit, and he also said that the electrons revolving around the nucleus is positive sign with an energy, but there is a drawback in this model. What is it? According to the electromagnetic radiation theory, so when a particle moves, when a charged particle move continuously, it will lose its energy. So look at this picture here. This was the model given by Rutherford. So if the electron continues to move around the nucleus, so when it is a negative charge, so according to the electromagnetic radiation theory, if the electron continues to move like this, what happens is it will lose its energy, and finally it will drop into the nucleus and the atom will collapse. But in fact, in 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 original state, it doesn't happen. The atoms are stable. So Rutherford couldn't explain the stability of an atom based on his model. So this was the demerit of his model. And later on, Bohr explained the model. He gave a better atomic model, and based on a work from Planck and Einstein. Um, so both of them consider that any microscopic particle as a dual character, that is, it behaves as a wave as well as a particle nature. So based on that, he assumed certain things, that is, based on Planck and Einstein thought. Bohr assumed certain things and he gave a model. So what are the Bohr's assumption are? First one is the energy of an electrons are quantized. So that is, the energy with which the electron can revolve around the nucleus is always quantized. It's always fixed. Second one is the electron is revolving around the nucleus in a certain fixed circular path. So that is, the electron is moving in a stationary orbit. So that is, it will go only in that orbit. It won't come near to the nucleus. Third one, the electron can revolve only in those orbits in which the angular momentum of that orbit has to be integral multiple of h by 2 pi. So the angular momentum of the orbit has to be the integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Only in that orbit only the electrons can revolve around the nucleus. And he says that MVR is equals to NH by 2 pi, where N can be 1, 2, 3 or 4 according to the distance of the orbit from the nucleus. So this was the model given by Bohr. And he also says that as long as the electron revolves in a fixed orbital, it doesn't loses its energy. That is, if this electron, this first electron, so this orbit electron, it will revolve around only in this orbit. So when it was revolving only in this orbit, it doesn't lose any energy. But when it jumps from higher level, this level, to the lower level, what happens is it will lose energy. That is, the energy will be radiated. So the energy will be radiated if an electron jumps from a higher level to a lower level, and this is known as a radiation. And in turn, if the electrons moves from a if an electron move from a lower level to a higher level, it will absorb energy and it will jumps from a lower level to the higher level. So this was the model given by Bohr, and it could explain the stability of an atom, which was the demerit of a Rutherford model. And the frequency of emitted radiation can be calculated. And so when the electron travels from higher level to the lower level, it will emit a radiation which is equals to h nu, and nu is the frequency, and this can be given as nu is equals to E2 minus E1 by h. H is a Planck's constant and it is a constant value. And this is applicable only to atoms which have only one electrons. So this Bohr's model is applicable to atoms which has a single electron, and this was one of the demerit of a Bohr's model. So this was a model of Bohr's. In 1913, he proposed a fixed circular orbits around the nucleus for electron. So this is the way the electron will be moving in an atom. So the limitation of Bohr's model. First one is the Bohr's model is applicable only to species having electrons, so one electrons, for example hydrogen or Li2 plus ions, and it cannot be applied to a multi electron atoms. And next demerit is both couldn't explain the splitting of spectral lines in presence of a magnetic field, that is a Zeeman effect, or in presence of an electric field, that is a Stark effect. He couldn't explain these two effects. And third one, and he couldn't also explain why the electron has to revolve around the nucleus in a fixed orbit. Why it should always move in a fixed orbit. Why it should not, it cannot take another pathway to revolve around the nucleus. He couldn't explain that properly. And this was the demerit or limitation of Bohr's model. So Bohr's this angular momentum concept, which doesn't have a logical concept, logical answer for that, but Louis de Broglie was a person who could logically give reason for give reason and explain the Bohr's angular momentum concept, that is a fixed angular momentum concept. So what he did is he considered the Albert Einstein dual nature of light. So Albert Einstein said that light behaves as a particle as well as a wave character. He considered that, and he extended that concept to all kinds of matter. So he extended that concept to an atom. And from the Planck's quantum hypothesis, energy, so the light is a form of an wave. So according to that, the energy is equals to h nu. And according to Einstein mass energy relationship, E is equals to mc square. That is, when the particle behaves like when the light behaves like a particle, the energy can be given as E is equals to mc square. So on equating both the equation, we get h nu is equals to mc square. So on equating both these two equation, E is equals to h nu and E is equals to mc square, we get h nu is equals to mc square. So by rearranging, we can get the value for lambda. So here this nu is a frequency, and frequency can be given as c by lambda. So we are substituting that value here, h into c by lambda is equals to mc square. Cancelling c on both sides, we get lambda is equals to h by mc. So here we get lambda is equals to h by mc, where this lambda gives the wavelength of the photons whose momentum is given by as m into c. Okay, and for a particle, this momentum can be written as m into v. Okay, and this is valid only when the particle travels with a speed as much less than the speed of light. Okay, and this equation is applicable only for a microscopic particle, and we cannot find out the wave character of a macroscopic particle, because the wave character for a macroscopic particle is negligible. Okay, for a microscopic particle we cannot neglect the wave character. So we have for a microscopic particle we have to consider both the wave nature as well as the particle nature, and this equation is applicable only for a microscopic particle, and it has a significance only for a microscopic particles. So next one is a quantization of angular momentum and de Broglie concept. So that is, now we are combining the de Broglie concept, and we are going to find out the angle. We are going to compare the quantization of angular momentum and the de Broglie's concept. So according to de Broglie concept, the electron revolve the nucleus, exhibit both particle and wave character. In order for an electron to exist in a phase, the circumference of an orbit should be a integral multiple. So the for an electron to behave like a wave, the circumference of the orbital, so the path where the electron is moving, that path has to be has to be a integral multiple of the wavelength of the electron wave. So we can write that the circumference of the orbit has to be integral multiple of the wavelength lambda. Lambda is the wavelength of an electron wave, and it has to be an integral multiple of that. So the circumference of the orbit. So from Bohr's model, it was clearly shown that the orbit is in a circular form. So the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, which should be which has to be equal to n into lambda. Okay, we already know from a de Broglie's concept, lambda is equals to h by m nu. We can substitute that here. So we get 2 pi r is equals to nh by mv. On rearranging this equation for mvr, so mvr is equals to nh by 2 pi, and this mvr is the angular momentum. Okay, this mvr is the angular momentum, and this angular momentum has to be a integral multiple of this value h by 2 pi. So this above equation, this equation was already predicted by Bohr. So hence this de Broglie's derivation, de Broglie's concept and Bohr's concept are in agreement with each other. So this shows that, so already Bohr assumed that so in his third assumption, he said that electron can revolve only in those orbits which the angular momentum mvr of an electron must be equal to an integral multiple h by 2 pi. So de Broglie proved that here. And this and look at this picture here, and this was the allowed wave. Okay, so this red line, so that is the path where the electron can move like a wave. Okay, when the electron moves like a wave, these are the allowed path. Actually the electrons are not exactly moving in a circular way, it is like moving like a wave. Okay. So next one is a Davison and German experiment. So that this experiment confirms the wave nature of an electron, and based on this experimental evidences, the new techniques, new instruments like your electron microscope and low energy electron diffraction, all new techniques were evolved based on this experiment, results of this experiment. And this experiment was done to prove the wave nature of an electron. So what they did is, so they allowed the accelerated beam of electron to fall on a nickel crystal. So here the accelerated beam of electrons, it is falling on a nickel crystal. You can see the white waves that are forming, that are the electron waves that were formed, and it was recorded in an X-ray diffraction. Okay. So based on this experiment, it was clear that electron also behaves as a wave. So next one is a Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So the dual nature of a matter. so imposes a certain limitation. uh, One of the limitation is we cannot predict the position and momentum of a microscopic particle simultaneously. So at a given instant we cannot predict the position and the momentum of a microscopic particle accurately. Okay, this was a Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and it states that it is impossible to accurately determine both the position and momentum of a microscopic particle simultaneously. And the product of uncertainty in this measurement is expressed as del x into del p is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi, and where del s is the uncertainty in position, del p is the uncertainty in momentum. And this uncertainty principle, so why we are doing all those things is, we are considering the electrons, we are studying about the electrons, and it is a microscopic particle. And while studying the electron we cannot exactly find out the position of an electron as well as its momentum at the same time. So next one is a quantum mechanical model of atom. So that is a Schrodinger equation. So on the basis of quantum physics, Schrodinger derived an equation, and he applied the quantum mechanics into understanding the nature of an electron, and he expressed the wave nature of an electron in terms of a differential equation, and this equation determines the change of wave function in space depending on the field of force in which the electron moves. And Schrodinger gave a time independent equation and which was given as Hamilton's psi is equals to, that is a h cap, we'll read this as a h cap, psi is equals to E psi, where h cap is a Hamiltonian operator and psi is the wave function and is a function of the position coordinates of a particle x, y, z. So psi is denoted as x, y, z, and E is the energy of the system. And this Hamiltonian operator is equals to minus h square 8 pi square m into dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square plus dou square by dou z square plus v. So substituting this in the equation 2.12, we can write this the equation as like this: minus x square by 8 pi square m into dou square psi by dou x square plus dou square psi by dou y square plus dou square psi by dou z square plus v psi is equals to E psi. So multiplying this equation throughout by minus 8 pi square m by h square and rearranging, we get dou square psi by dou x square plus dou square psi by dou y square plus dou square psi by dou z square plus 8 pi square m by h square into E minus v. So we are rearranging this. We are taking the E from this side to this side. So E minus v psi is equals to 0. So that equation is a, so this last one equation 2.13 is a Schrodinger wave equation, and it does not contain time as a variable. So we can refer this equation as a time independent Schrodinger wave equation. And this equation, by solving this equation, we can get the certain values for E, that is a total energy. And from that we can find out that the energy of a system is quantized, and the permitted total energy values are called eigen values, and the corresponding wave function represents the atomic orbital. So that is the dou square psi by dou x square, and this term dou square psi by dou y square and dou square psi by dou z square represents the atomic orbital. Okay, this wave function represents the atomic orbitals. So next one is the main features of the quantum mechanical model of an atom. So first one, so the energy of an electrons in atom is quantized. That is the energy is, so this was similar to the Bohr's postulates. Second one, the since there is the existence of a quantized electronic energy level, the solution of Schrodinger wave equation gives the allowed energy levels. So in the previous just now we have seen the Schrodinger wave equation. If we simplify that, we can find out the allowed energy level of an orbits. And next one, as a consequence of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, quantum mechanics introduced the concept of orbitals, and orbitals are nothing but the three-dimensional space in which the probability of finding the electron is maximum. And next one, the wave nature of an electron present in an orbital can be well defined by the wave function psi, and the psi, it denotes the wave nature of an electron, and the wave function psi, it does by itself doesn't have any physical meaning. However, it helps to find out the probability of finding an electron in a given volume, in a small volume, and it is proportional to modulus of psi into x y z square, and it's known as a probability density, and it is always positive. And this is the Schrodinger's model. So this is the current model of an atom. Sorry. So this is a Schrodinger model, and this thing we'll call this as a orbital. So orbital is a three-dimensional space where the probability of finding an electron is maximum. So this is a three-dimensional orbital where the probability of finding an orbital electron is maximum. Okay, so in this current model of an atom, electron occupied a region of space called orbits. And we'll continue the lesson in the next video, and in this next video we'll see the what are the different quantum numbers and orbits, all those things. Thank you.